Nurse community. It is Shamika, and I am back. And just in case I didn't get a chance to tell you, Happy Nurses Week! Thank you guys for all that you do. Happy NOSA Nurse Week to all those nurses who are either working in the industry on the floor now or who are supporting the industry through their nurse on staffing business, aka NOSAs. We thank you guys for all that you do. You help build this amazing community and platform and really open doors of opportunity for others. I have much respect for nurses who want to work the floor throughout the duration of their career. And I have much respect for nurses who decide to take a different direction and enter into the entrepreneurial space. So, welcome. Again, my name is Shamika, and I am the owner and creator of the Nurse Owned Staffing Agency, aka the NOSA Group. And we're here on our YouTube channel. So, if you haven't had a chance to go ahead and subscribe to our channel, I'll give you a moment to do that now, as well as if you want to get alerts on some of our hot topics and information, as well as events that we have going on, go ahead and click that alert bell there over on the left hand side and get updates on new posts that we have, as well as new content. So let's get started and continue our conversation on our topic. So this month, and as we go into the summer, we'll be talking more about the guts and the nuts and the bolts of the business. So, a big part of getting started, launching, getting that first client, building your brand, creating a marketing strategy is really understanding what are the pieces and components that create that, right? So, as time goes on, we'll talk about policies and procedures, overcoming rejection. We talked about the marketing strategy the other day. So, all of those things are really going into us looking at the insides of the business process. So, let's get started today on our topic on building rapport with clients. So, here are a few strategies I'm going to share with you guys for success. As always, if you have your own strategies that you want to share, feel free to drop them down in the comment section. So, the ability to relate to people in different ways and promote mutual respect, trust, and understanding is known as rapport. On this basis, solid partnerships are created for organizations and professionals developing a connection with customers. It's really essential to have a rapport. It provides an improvement in communication, it boosts your customer client experience, as well as happiness, and it ultimately boosts the results of your company. The importance of building solid client connections and strategies for doing it is listed as we go along. So, one of the ways to develop rapport or develop the skills for building rapport includes effective communication. And what that looks like is your ability to establish rapport with clients requires that you are an active listener, which really talks about paying close attention to what the client is saying. So, this skill of building rapport and effective communication really is something that you can do at the point that you are aspiring to get a client. So you're kind of in the initial phases of obtaining a client, as well as once you've already had a client. So paying close attention to what the client is saying is really key. And getting clarification when necessary is also important so that when you respond, you can respond appropriately. To establish rapport, professionals should ask open ended questions or inquiries. This encourages the customer to share their thoughts, feelings, and concerns. So, I'm going to give a couple of examples, and I think throughout the slides, we probably have some as well. And I'm using these off of life experiences that I've had with other NOSAs that I've shared, and then experiences that I've seen out in the industry. A closed ended question essentially is a question where the person can answer yes or no. An example would be do you like the color black? No, I actually do. Or do you like the color black? Yes. An open ended version of that question would be what is your favorite color? Or what is your favorite colors? So that kind of opens the door to have more conversation, as well as opens the door for you to offer follow up questions. In a client setting, if you're on the phone talking to a potential client, it could be, do you have any staffing or um, open positions at this time? No. Or it might be, are you looking to staff for, or are you currently working with staffing agencies? That's a really good one. No. So both of those are closed-ended questions. So I would answer yes or no. Many of the times, as you guys know, based on experience, sometimes it is no. A different question is, are you open to having a discussion on talking about your current staffing process, your current staffing needs, um, to identify ways we may be able to assist to meet these specific needs? So, in those instances, you're talking about needs that you've seen, that you've identified that they have needs in the area of night shift weekends or CNAs, for overnights, things like that. That might get you a no, but it's kind of more of a leading question where they may say, oh, okay, yeah, I'm open to having a discussion, or I'm open to being a part of your presentation. Or if you have an infographic, that can kind of, open the door to, hey, I've done some research. I want to share this infographic that kind of identifies some areas that we may be able to provide assistance in the staffing space. You know, would you like to further have discussions on it? Or do you have time to further discuss these matters? So, the main point, especially when talking to clients in our environment, is to really form your question where you can get a maybe or yes, or have a follow-up conversation. So there are three key things when you're talking to potential clients that you want to take into consideration. One, is this a warm client? Is this a cold client, meaning we've never spoken, they don't know who I am? Is this a warm client? Maybe we've had a conversation, maybe we've exchanged emails, but there hasn't been like a formal conversation or formal presentation or any sharing of information. And then three, have I identified what the current needs of that client are at that time? So clients' needs in healthcare change. But if you haven't identified it, it doesn't create like an opener. So that's kind of the difference when it talks about rapport and encouraging customers to share their thoughts. You want to create the opener. So feel free to share any other openers that you might use, with any potential clients. And then the same thing really applies, something similar when it comes to applicants. I think a more straightforward approach is beneficial, just because applicants kind of already know, what they're looking for, what they're wanting to pay, what they're wanting to get paid, where they're wanting to go. So having a, hey, this is what we have available is okay, but having a conversation that's more geared to, what are you looking for, or what are some of your needs, or what is an ideal agency, or are you looking to work with other agencies? And then maybe on the end of that conversation, sharing what you have might be more beneficial. So building trust with clients and building trust with applicants is really key. It requires developing confidence. So you want to make sure that you're being open. So I tell people, tell them you're an OSA. You know, that's a win-win. The conversation happens within our group here on YouTube and other social media platforms. Well, I don't want them to know that I own the business. Why? Um, it's rarely negatively impact people for them to know that you own the business. And it's not something that you need to share initially. So it's not something that you need to go in telling, as much as it's something that, hey, if it comes up, be honest, be open, um, be consistent, be a dependable help to your client. So if they text in the middle of the night, understand it's a 24-hour business. That is a part of what we're committing to when we decide to take the journey to become NOSAs. Be available, or have someone available. You always want to make sure that you maintain professionalism through any content or commitments that you've had. You want to make sure that you're communicating effectively, especially when it comes to emails and business writing and following up effectively. You want to maintain a consistent approach, and be upfront with clients about any limitations or challenges that you may see, along the way. by doing this, it really exhibits dependability and honesty, which is what most clients are looking for. They want you to provide them the service of obtaining staff, good quality staff who are going to come in and do amazing jobs for the time period that they're at their facility, who can continue the thought process of staff members in the organization who are honest, have good integrity, timely, can work well. So you want to make sure that you're always thinking and evolving around maintaining that trust. And some other things to think about when it comes to clients is clients aren't perfect. I'm going to be honest, clients are perfect. Sometimes they can be difficult. But what you have to maintain is a professionalism, even in instances when the clients aren't being perfect or they aren't maybe doing what they say they're going to do, or they may be delaying signing time cards or invoices and things of that nature. There's a way to escalate things up a chain of command and still stay professional. So you want to make sure that, hey, even if there's differences, or even if maybe the person isn't being professional with you, that you take into account that within our industry, even with at the nursing level, it's a small industry. So you want to maintain your professionalism more so because you want to maintain your reputation. So maintaining that is more valuable than any differences that you may have with a client that might be being difficult with you. Create a positive environment. So one way to create a positive environment, whether it be working with clients or potential applicants, is consistency. So, consistency on your part, as well as consistency on the expectation of the employee. An example, or a potential applicant. The example with the applicant piece is, if you're reaching out to applicants and you're kind of following your process, and usually your process says, hey, after 3 attempts, we no longer will do an outreach to that particular applicant, then follow that process. Be consistent. I'm a believer in people show you who they are. So it applies 110% in healthcare. So if you have an applicant who you've been reaching out to and you haven't been getting a response, you don't have to never talk to them again. As much as, hey, we'll put them on our email marketing campaign. They'll receive emails every couple of months, or updates or changes. We have enough information on them to reach out. But our team isn't going to expend a lot of time on that individual because they've made it clear that they're probably not interested in that job. And one of the ways that I think making it clear means to me is, if I call 3 times, outreach, text, maybe email, and we get no response, as we refer to ghosting, then that person is interested. You want to make sure their team gets it and they're comfortable with the ability to move on, no matter how great that person appeared on paper, in an interview. Everybody knows the process of working with healthcare staffing agency businesses, or most, from an applicant standpoint of view. So that process doesn't look that different from place to place. So if they're not prepared, that's another thing. Hey, if they're not prepared, that may be indicators of things that are to come in the future. So you want to be mindful of that. So building rapport with customers as well requires fostering a favorable environment. What that means to me is, hey, if they call, you might answer, or have someone on your team answer. You reply to emails in a timely fashion. And on the email piece, you set the standard, as we mentioned before, as far as consistency, as far as what's a reasonable time frame to reply to emails, whether it be from clients or from applicants. That's on you as an organization. It's always nice when organizations put it in their websites or some sort of language, especially if you're in an industry where there's a lot of communication. Hey, someone will get back to you within 24 hours or 48 hours, whatever that is. So that there's an expectation on the part of the applicant as well as a potential client to receive a response. And with doing that, I also encourage you guys, especially with clients, to do the same thing, but in this way. Ask the client when you can expect to hear back. And then that way it kind of puts the onus on them to say, we'll get back with you at the weekend, we'll get back with you in 24 hours, we'll get back with you next week. So they can take a look at their calendar or kind of have a feel for what's happening for them that week. And your follow-up time can be a reasonable time frame based on when they said they reach back out to you. You want to create a pleasant environment. Professionals should maintain a warm and approachable tone and employ suitable humor. And this one is funny, mostly because I think we do that anyway, being in a profession that's people facing. But you want to make sure on the phone that you're also giving off those pleasant environment, professionalism, warm and approachable tone as well. So that if I call your agency today and I try to reach someone and someone answers, that they're having that experience as the first point of contact. And it's someone that's, introducing yourself, saying who your agency is, asking or offering how they may be of any sort of assistance or help. So that's really important because that first impression by far really sets the tone for further interactions. In person, of course, you want to be aware, and on Zoom sessions or virtual sessions, you want to be aware of your body language, your voice, your tone. And then you want to think about how it significantly influences how the client interprets the conversation. So I tell people, much like we do our YouTube videos here, keep it short and sweet. Most people have about 15 minutes to be present and paying attention. So you want to make sure that you, as a person is trying to get services to them, is able to do that. And sometimes you just have to practice it. Canva has this great feature where you can present and record what you're trying to share with a potential client or a potential employee. And then that way you can see how you sound, you can see changes in your voice or your tone, the words that you use. If you're like me, who's a big you can be more mindful of stuff like that. And then some of the presentations have a section where you can put notes if you wanted to elaborate on different things. So use your resources. And then finally, overcoming the challenge to building rapport. Building rapport, I think, is something that some of us do naturally. Some of us need a little bit of assistance on, but it can be tough when you don't address the full picture. So you want to also make sure that when you're talking, you're taking into account any language barriers, cultural hurdles, or difficult personalities, so that when you're presented with those types of situations, you still maintain your rapport, your professionalism, your tone, and your interaction, no matter the outcome, because sometimes people are testing you to see how you handle things under pressure. So they want to just make sure that you're doing the same thing, no matter the circumstances. Professionalism needs to adapt to the client's communication style. Some clients, hey, they want to get straight to the point and they want you to do X, Y, and Z. Other clients may want to ask a lot of questions, so they may have more of a conversational style um, type of communication. And then others may want to see visuals, like you see here in this presentation. So they want you to show them, hey, places that you work, different types of skills facilities, your background, the background of your staff. So those are all different approaches on your communication style with a potential client. And the same thing can apply with applicants as well. Some applicants just want to know, what's the pay, how long is it, where it's located, and when can I start? And then others want to know, well, what's the ratios? Is there flexibility? Will I have an interview with the client? Will there be an orientation? Do you offer benefits? But nonetheless, you always want to make sure that you're being professional and engaging their particular style. So you want to be flexible and make sure that the words that you establish with the particular client establishes a rapport. If there's any language barriers, you definitely want to address those as well. And then finally, in conclusion, building a rapport with clients is the utmost importance for company success and for establishing sustainable commercial relationships. It's essential to effective communication skills to build trust, promote a positive environment, and overcome challenges in order to forge a connection with clients. By doing this, experts may enhance client satisfaction, communication, and eventually business outcomes. If you haven't, feel free to check us out on our social media platforms here. Definitely check out our website as we have more upcoming things as we launch the process of starting and leading the road towards NOSACON 2024. Hope to see you there, and definitely don't forget to subscribe to our channel.